Alright everybody, how we doing today? As you can see, I shaved. I eventually plan on growing the full beard back and then cutting around here so I have a goatee. So I have a ponytail and a goatee. I'll look awesome. But anyway, so here we go. Since you've recently heard the news about the death of Abu Bkr Al Baghdadi, it's time to dig into this Baghdadi. And believe me, I found a lot of articles and information concerning this today, my friends. So from Ruptly, if ISIS chief al-Baghdadi is dead, Trump has made a big contribution to fighting terrorism, according to the Kremlin. While Russia still has no independent confirmation that U.S. forces have killed Islamic State leader Abu Bkr al-Baghdadi, Donald Trump is due credit if they did, Russian President Vladimir Putin's spokesman has said. The news itself can't be taken negatively by the Russian authorities, Dmitry Peskov said. Indeed, our troops saw American planes and American drones in the area, which may have been on a mission there. Earlier, the Russian Defense Ministry cast doubt on Washington's claim of al-Baghdadi's death, saying there's no credible data to prove his demise. If confirmed, however, Trump's effort should be recognized, Peskov believes. If indeed the information about al-Baghdadi's elimination is confirmed, then we can talk about the U.S. President's significant contribution to fight against international terrorism. Moscow's skepticism is not unfounded, seeing as how rumors of al-Baghdadi's grave injury or death have surfaced repeatedly for the past 4 years, only to be later dispelled. Trump, however, has teased that some footage of his ultimate takedown at the hands of U.S. troops could be released at some point. Well, I would be very interested in seeing that footage. Russia's skepticism, and for that matter, skepticism in general, is well invited. In fact, skepticism is probably one of the healthiest ways you can think. You never know for certain until you get that smoking gun, am I right? But there really doesn't seem to be much of a smoking gun in this instance. And yet, the truth of the situation gets a little stranger. See, as we go here to an article from Reuters, it says, killing the leader may not be enough to stamp out Islamic State. The killing of Islamic State leader Abu Bkr al-Baghdadi is of considerable importance. Experts believe, but the underlying reason for his jihadist group's existence remain, and attacks in the Middle East and beyond are not likely to stop. Baghdadi's death at the hands of the United States has likely caused Islamic State to splinter, leaving whoever emerges as its new leader, with the task of pulling the ultra-hardline group back together as a fighting force. Whether the loss of its leader will in itself affect the group's capabilities is open to doubt. Analysts in the region say even if it does face difficulties in the leadership transition, the underlying ideology and the sectarian hatred it's promoted remains attractive to many. Where once they rode around in armored vehicles, brandished rifles, flew black flags, and indulged in acts of spectacular cruelty, sounds like Antifa, the Sunni Muslim militants are now prisoners or scattered stragglers whose leader was chased down in a tunnel during a raid by American Special Forces. Operationally, it doesn't affect much. They are already broken, and globally their attacks have receded, said Rashad Ali, resident senior fellow at Institute for Strategic Dialogue, a London-based think tank. They are mostly concentrated in the Iraqi-Syrian borderlands. It doesn't make much of a difference, other than the symbolism, he said. If you think taking out the one terrorist matters, while failing to address the root causes that led this ideology to take hold, you are mistaken. But some of those grievances are very much on show today. Sunni Muslims in Iraq are angered at their treatment by a ruling Shiite elite. They see as under the influence of Iran and the Iranian-backed militias. They now roam their provinces unchecked. It comes from a sort of appeal to conventional wisdom. An army without a leader is like a crab without its legs, so to speak. That is the conventional thought on that. That comes from French military tactics primarily. You know, those guys that surrendered in World War II. For those of you nerds who like to hate on the French, there you go. There are better reasons. However, there are people who say that, if you take him out, you'll just create a power vacuum, and then someone else will step in. While true, allow me to be clear on something. If you mention a problem and then provide no solution, you're part of the problem. You are just making things needlessly complicated. You're complaining for its own sake. You're basically being Bernie Sanders, in other words, because that's exactly what he does. Mention a problem and then do nothing about it. Offer no solution. When someone asks you for a solution, you just kind of, hold on a second, and then move on to the next subject. So what the hell do you do? Sure, I agree that you should address the greater cause of terrorism, but leaving the leader of a terrorist group completely undealt with is just the other side of the coin. It's too far the other way. A more subtle approach of dealing with the terrorist leader and finding the ultimate root cause for the grievance would be the right way to go about it. And keep in mind also, this would be assuming that a solution to the ultimate cause can actually be found. It's more complicated than they want it to be. Recruitment. In Syria, recruitment to groups such as Islamic State is encouraged by the killing of Sunnis by Syrian government forces backed by Iran and Russia. Islamic State's effectiveness arises from its members' loyalty to its ultra-fanatical Islamist ideology, and this may not be much affected by the killing of its leader, said Fadhil Abu Raghif, an Iraqi political analyst and security expert. He said Islamic State's 9-man Shura Council, or leadership group, was expected to meet and appoint a leader from among 5 candidates. Among the frontrunners are Abu Abdullah al-Jizraoui, a Saudi, and Abdullah Qaradash, an Iraqi and one of Baghdadi's right-hand men. Also, a former army officer under Saddam Hussein, also mentioned, is Abu Atman al-Tunisi, a Tunisian. The new leader will start working to pull together the group's power by relying on new recruits and fighters who fled the prisons in Syria. He's expected to launch a series of retaliatory attacks for the killing of Baghdadi, said Abu Raghif. It is possible that whoever takes over as the head of the group, which experts say has been beset by internal disputes, will cause it to splinter within months because he is unacceptable on grounds of nationality to some factions. For sure, they will fight among themselves over resources. I predict the Iraqi faction will win because they have more money, said Iraqi analyst Hisham al-Hashemi, an expert on jihadist groups. A security source with knowledge of militant groups in Iraq said the killing of Baghdadi would splinter the group's command structure because of differences between senior figures and lack of confidence among group members who were forced to go underground when the caliphate collapsed. We are aware that the killing of Baghdadi will not lead to the disappearance of Islamic State because eventually they will pick someone for the job, the source said. But at some time, whoever follows Baghdadi will not be in a position to keep the group united. Operations. The new leader will attempt to restructure the group by encouraging followers to launch operations not only in Iraq but in other countries to raise morale among existing and new followers, the source said. By franchising its name, Islamic State has attracted followers in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Incidents such as one in London where attackers used easily obtained weapons such as motor vehicles and knives show that lack of organizational backing is not an obstacle. In Southeast Asia, where Islamic State has spread its influence, officials believe the group's ideas will have to be fought over even after Baghdadi's death. His death will have little impact as the main problem remains the spread of the Islamic State ideology. Malaysian police counterterrorism chief Ayub Khan Maidan Piche told Reuters. Too many names. In Iraq, where Baghdadi proclaimed his caliphate from the Grand Al-Nuri Mosque in 2014, authorities have pursued a policy of taking out senior Islamic State figures as an effective way of keeping the group on the back foot. I think an acceptable measure for dealing with these groups that I think would satisfy both camps, both going after leaders and ultimate causes, would be to continue to go after the group. Take out one leader after leader after leader after leader, never backing a rival, mind you, never siding with the lesser of two evils, because you're still choosing evil. Take them all out and cause the group to splinter and splinter and splinter until they're too small to be of any real danger. And then just keep doing that until they buckle under their own weight under the weight of their own failure. You don't have to outright destroy them, just weaken them. Just keep going at them, and then they will become weaker and weaker. Because the use of terrorism is the tactic of a much weaker force. U.S. wants to bolster fight against Islamic State after its leader's death. This is from Reuters, and it says the United States wants to bolster a coalition fighting Islamic State in northeastern Syria. A senior State Department official said on Monday after the leader of the jihadi movement, Bkr Al Baghdadi, was killed in a weekend operation. World leaders welcomed his death, but they and security experts warned that the group, which carried out atrocities against religious minorities and horrified most Muslims, remained a security threat in Syria and beyond. The official said that President Donald Trump, by announcing the withdrawal of U.S. forces from northern Syria on October 6, did not suggest that Washington was abandoning the fight against Islamic State. Hold on a second. There was never an idea that we would abandon the mission of going after ISIS. This is a major effort that is continuing, the official told reporters. Foreign ministers will meet in Washington on November 14th to discuss the mission. Trump has softened his pull-out plans for Syria after a backlash from Congress, including fellow Republicans. Yeah, we know about that. Lone wolf threat. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov declined to say if the United States had told Russia about the operation in advance. But he added, if this information is confirmed, we can talk about a serious contribution by the President of the United States to fight against international terrorism. French President Emmanuel Macron said Baghdadi's death was a major blow against Islamic State, but the fight continues to finally defeat this terrorist organization. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said, we will work with our coalition partners to bring an end to the murderous, barbaric activities of Daesh, Islamic State, once and for all. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison told reporters, this is a many-headed monster. As you cut one off, another one inevitably arises. In Southeast Asia, an important focus for Islamic State officials said security forces were preparing for a long battle to thwart the group's ideology. The Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia, home to some of Asia's most organized Islamist militants, said they were braced for retaliation by Islamic State loyalists, including lone wolf attacks by radicalized locals. Though Baghdadi's death will unsettle Islamic State, it remains capable and dangerous, said Delfin Lorenza, Defense Secretary of the Philippines, where the group's influence has taken hold in its troubled Mindanao region. This video is getting a little long, but at a nighttime raid, in the hours before Trump's announcement, sources in the region had described the raid on a compound in the village of Berisha in Idlib province bordering Turkey in the early hours of Sunday. Trump said 8 helicopters carried U.S. Special Forces to Baghdadi's compound, where they were met with gunfire before blasting their way in. The president said he watched the operation in the Situation Room of the White House. At the height of its power, Islamic State ruled over millions of people, from northern Syria to the outskirts of Baghdad. Thousands of civilians were killed by the group as it mounted what the United Nations called a genocidal campaign against Iraq's Yazidi minority. It also caused worldwide revulsion by beheading foreign nationals from countries including the United States, Britain, and Japan. The new group has claimed responsibility for or inspired attacks in cities including Paris, Nice? There's a place called Nice? Orlando, Manchester, London, and Berlin, and Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. But like I said, when you take a group's leader away from them, it does weaken them for a time. It gives you a chance to beat them back. If you were to take out ISIS leader one after another, it would keep them on the defensive. I understand that would make the fight hard, but people who complain about not going after the leaders instead of the ultimate cause would, provide no solution. How do you deal with the ultimate cause? What I'm literally saying is you can just beat them until they can't fight anymore. That's how you win a conflict. You take out one leader after another until the group just can't operate anymore. They lose all operating power because you've weakened them severely. So find more effective ways to kill leaders one after another, maybe even send spies into the group, and eventually ISIS will collapse due to a superior military strategy. Doesn't matter how many leaders they have. We'll kill them all. That, to me, speaks to a far better and more realistic solution than anything that has been offered since. Before or since, I'm sure. Anyway, Peace!